My name is Pastor Ron Basler from Messiah Lutheran Church in Yorba Linda, California. I welcome you to Bible as Second Language, Session 8. This session is called The Gospels. The word gospel means good news. Some of you maybe are saying, hey, I made it through 7 sessions, and that is good news. Or maybe you're saying, finally, we got out of that violent, troubling, sometimes sad, sometimes confusing Old Testament. That is good news. Well, you might have your reasons for shouting good news, but the Bible has some very different reasons. Standing behind the good news that fills the pages of the New Testament is this wonderful announcement. The promise made 2,000 years ago to Abraham and Sarah is coming true in Jesus of Nazareth. Remember that covenant made by God to this old couple? Now the Lord said to Abraham, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And in all the families of the earth, in you they shall be blessed." Now finally, at last, all the families of the earth would be blessed by one of Abraham's descendants, the one they call Jesus. This was good news. The Old Covenant, or Old Testament, was being fulfilled in Jesus. The centuries-old longing for a Messiah was now fulfilled. The prophet Isaiah had expressed that longing so powerfully many centuries before. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us, authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. This new Son of David had arrived, and his name was Jesus. This was gospel. This was good news. We Christians believe that this good news of Jesus fulfills the Old Testament, but it does more than that. It goes beyond the Old Testament and creates a new covenant, a New Testament. This good news is really what creates the Christian church. We will examine the character and content of that New Testament in these next 5 sessions of Bible as Second Language. In this session, we are going to look at the 4 Gospels that we have in our Bible: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These 4 Gospels, or good news books, tell the story of Jesus. Why do we have 4 Gospels? Why not 1? In our first session of Bible as Second Language, we asked the same type of question. Why 2 creation stories? Why not 1? We can give the same type of answer here that we gave there. If the Bible had intended to give us a scientific, historically objective biography of Jesus, then we would expect 1 definitive story. But how can only 1 perspective capture the whole truth of any person, much less a person as important as Jesus? But there's something else going on here too. In our first session, we said the Bible was written from faith for faith. The Gospels, like all of the Bible, have an agenda. The Gospel writer John says this right up front. Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing you may have life in his name. The Bible's intent is to create a faithful, trusting relationship in Jesus. It was written by faithful people living in different places or at different times. So why not more than 1 story? In fact, we could argue that by having the 4 stories of Jesus, we get closer to the truth with a capital T. That is Jesus, Messiah, Son of God. The word Catholic points to that idea too. The word comes from 2 Greek words, kataolos, and means according to all. To understand and appreciate who Jesus was and is, we need to hear the story according to all the voices, starting with the 4 Gospels. The Gospels are some of the most accessible writings in the Bible. Please dive into one of them and read that Gospel all the way through. you'll get a good picture of who Jesus was. We will spend a little time looking at each gospel separately, but before we do that, we need to look at one more strange word, synoptic. This word comes from two Greek words and means to see with or see together. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the synoptic gospels because they see the Jesus story in the same general way. If you read in any of these books, you will notice that some stories appear almost word for word in more than one gospel. Now, having the same stories should be no surprise since all three gospels are telling us about the same Jesus. But having the same vocabulary and the very same sentence structure, well, that suggests that one gospel writer may have had the other writer's work available when he sat down to write his story. Luke says as much in the introduction to his gospel. Since many have undertaken to set down an orderly account of the events that have been fulfilled among us just as they were handed on to us by those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the word, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the truth concerning the things about which you have been instructed. Now, how these Gospels came to be written may not be important to you. We Christians believe that whatever process went into it, the Holy Spirit was involved. But if you're curious, here's one way to understand why the Synoptic Gospels look the way they do. If you lay out the three Gospels side by side, and believe me, Bible scholars have been doing this for centuries, you can make some educated guesses about how these three Gospels came to be written. Here is what is known as the four-source hypothesis. Mark was the first Gospel to be written. It is the shortest and the least polished literarily of the three. When Matthew and Luke sat down to write their Gospels, they had copies of Mark in front of them. They used Mark's outline and many of his stories. Matthew and Luke also had access to another document, one that scholars call Q. This document contained many of Jesus' teachings and parables. Matthew and Luke inserted those writings and parables into Mark's structure at various points. Then, to complicate matters further, Matthew had access to some unique material that we could call M, and Luke had access to other material that we can call L. They each put that material into their Gospels as well. Now, this explanation may satisfy your literary curiosity, but the Gospels demand to be read as more than literary documents. They are good news, and they want to listen to that news, take it to heart, and come to faith.